So the point, I guess, is that we would have to, and that we should, be finding a way to live that doesn't depend on extracting resources to the extent that we do now, and that it's possible to do that, but it's a big re-education, and really, it it contradicts the basic tenets of capitalism, because capitalism is based on exploiting resources. Right?
Well, I've heard conservative folks say that it's our fault for helping out all those other countries that were doing so poorly compared to us, supposedly. That we shouldn't have helped them out because their lives getting better just contributed to the changes in the climate and pollution
And I think that's one of the things I have such a hard time with explaining to certain Republicans, that the people you've elected don't represent you anymore, you know? And I heard one older woman say the other day, just flat out, that she doesn't believe in climate.
In this, the first Plutopia podcast of 2023, the Plutopian Brain Trust offers you their Postmortem report on the late and not quite lamented year 2022.
Welcome, everybody, to the Plutopia News Network. This is our year-end conversation, and the Plutopians are all here. Scoop Sweeney over there on my left. I guess, well, am I on your left? And you're on my left. I don't know how the Zoom decides where to put people. Anyway, and just right down below Scoop and I is Suzy Sheeler. Hey, there's a problem with that.
She's a centrist.
I think this application is sexist, that it put the woman at the bottom of the...
Actually, for me, I'm at the front. So it's, but of course it really matters on how it goes out, who's recording. But for me, I'm first, so
hey,
I'm all right.
There's a new view on here called Immersive View.
Where?
Try that one. Check it out.
Hmm.
Oh, I have to show you this.
Oh, Lord.
I wonder if I can I show it to you?
We're looking at it. We're all
looking
in
at
a
it?
picture frame.
Yeah, we're all hanging in picture frames.
Oh
Good
my God, that's
Lord.
hilarious.
Is that actually supposed to be more immersive than...
I don't feel like I'm immersed.
You're just framed.
That's the only setting they have. They don't have like various formats.
Well, I was coming here to make it speaker view. Oh, I see it. When I do immersive, everybody goes immersive. That's very weird. Okay, so now it's speaker view. So everybody's at the top, and whoever is speaking is just below that in a big frame.
That would make sense, though. Like if you're doing a new, you want to make it look like everybody's in the same studio.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, let me do that again. Let me show you. What do you think about this?
Good Lord.
Whoa.
Oh, and I'm up at the front of the room. I'm at the head of the class.
Yeah, at some point they're going to get it so that doesn't happen.
That just...
There are multiple immersive views, it turns out.
Well, it does make you look like and like if you turned around and we just saw the back of your head, it would look like you were actually teaching us in class.
Well, let's just go skiing.
That one looked like a illustration of a view of the Democratic representatives in the legislature of Texas. Which
right.
It's like three people.
I look very short and underdressed.
This will work better on YouTube, I think.
So
anyway,
you must have an updated version, because mine doesn't offer that.
I just updated my Zoom as I came in.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, you know what? Hey, Scoop, do you pay for an account?
Yeah.
You should probably have it then.
No, this is the account that Plutopia pays for, but Scoop is...
He's got his own...
you know what? I'll bet the the host is the only one who has the ability to turn on the immersive view.
He is the host.
No, he's the co-host.
Oh.
I'm the host. I made him the co-host. Now, co-host should have that ability too, though.
You're the host with the most co-host.
You're the host with the most co-hosts ever.
Well, anyway, we have departed from the
yeah, we were supposed to be talking about
hand.
I'm just glad we were laughing and not talking about politics for just 1 second.
Or guns
just
or whatever.
1 second.
Yeah, and we didn't have to say the name of he who shall not be named. I'm trying to.
Well, there's a traditional sort of imagery associated with the beginning of the new year, where the old year is portrayed as a little old man with a beard, kind of like me, and the new year is portrayed as a kind of brand new, spanking new baby.
Right.
And the old year is like completely decrepit and falling apart and about to go away. And the baby's just getting started and looking pretty mischievous. And I think we'll probably be into a lot of mischief in 2023. But it would be worthwhile for us to talk about the mischief we were into in 2022. And I think that's what we were going to do first, right?
Yes, indeed. And climate seemed to have been a big infringement upon our lives.
Did that affect you?
Just a tiny little bit, just like freezing and dying of heat stroke. If you didn't like the weather, you just had to wait a week and it'd be something completely different.
Mm-hmm. Just like now.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, one thing that's changed about that is that there seems to be a fairly broad acknowledgement that climate change is happening. And the people who used to oppose it by saying they didn't believe in it, or they didn't think that, at least that they didn't believe that it was caused by human activity, they'll now say, well, okay, it's caused by human activity, but we can't stop doing that stuff because it would ruin us, because we depend too much on fossil fuels, and we can't really end that dependence without destroying our quality of life and without destroying the economy, which is sort of like, the argument is sort of like, we're just going to go ahead and incinerate if not the planet, the occupants of the planet that happen to be humans, so that we remain comfortably acquainted for a bit longer.
And it was like when, what's his stupid name said, Dan Patrick, when the coronavirus started, and he said, older people should be willing to die for the economy. It's like, that's
die for the Republican Party. Yeah.
That's basically, that's the here and now. The Republicans used to kind of be that party of, let's be really careful about how we spend our money and what we, and they're not, there's not those people anymore. They are not the same people. And I think that's one of the things I have such a hard time with explaining to certain Republicans, that the people you've elected don't represent you anymore, and I heard one older woman say the other day, just flat out, that she doesn't believe in climate. And
okay.
I was like,
I saw one outside a minute ago.
What the fuck are you talking about?
It's all a Democrat plot.
Of course. And that's the other thing. It's like, my God, some woman was talking about how we control the weather. What are you talking about?
Well, I want to make a point that Jemay Cascio made for me a long time ago. And this was, so what happened was that I wrote an article in about 2000 about climate change for Whole Earth Magazine. And the article, which was called Being Green in 2001, was just based on some investigation I did into the state of thinking about climate change, because so Bruce, my friend Bruce Sterling, was editor of that issue of the magazine, and he had been talking quite a bit about global warming and climate change as climate emergency, even back then. You know, I mean, we were kind of aware of it, and he was the one who actually made me aware of it. So I decided to write this article. And in the context of researching the article, when I was interviewing a professor at the University of Colorado, Jim White, he was saying something to me to the effect that if everybody in the world had the same standard of living that he and I had, or that, you know, typical American middle class had, that we would completely decimate the world's resources, that there are insufficient resources in the world to support a standard of living like that, which I think I later referred to in talking to Jemay, or in front of Jemay. I said, in order for everybody in the world to have a good standard of living like we do, you know, I'm making this value judgment, good standard of living, that would be, you know, impossible with the available resources. And he said, well, that depends on how you define a good standard of living. People can have a perfectly great standard of living and live way differently from the way that we live right now. That we've just stumbled into this sort of extractive way of living that depends on decimating resources at a high rate of decimation, you know, and that it doesn't have to be that way. And I'm thinking about that even more because yesterday I saw the new Avatar film, and both of the Avatar films are kind of about this thing, about people who live close to the land versus people who are completely 100% extractive and exploit the land. Oh boy.
I think that kind of sums up what we're talking about. Anyway,
well, so the point, I guess, is that we would have to, and that we should be finding a way to live that doesn't depend on extracting resources to the extent that we do now, and that it's possible to do that, but it's a big re-education, and really it contradicts the basic tenets of capitalism, because capitalism is based on exploiting resources. Right?
Well, I've heard conservative folks say that it's our fault for helping out all those other countries that were doing so poorly compared to us, supposedly. That we shouldn't have helped them out because their lives getting better just contributed to the changes in the climate and pollution and
so now on top of
whatever.
everything,
So it's our fault for being generous to the rest of the world. It's like, okay, whatever. I'm not sure what part of the party that came from.
There was a concept about private property where they said that if you occupied land but you didn't exploit it or extract from it, then you had no right to ownership of it.
What?
This being applied to, of course, indigenous people.
Yeah, oil and gas people tend to take that approach. It's like, well, you're not drilling anything, so you're not using that properly.
Right. I mean, it's the capitalism is an entrenched way of thinking, ideology, and you know, you could make it really soft and less exploitative, and it wouldn't be as much of a problem. But the problem is that it becomes a really aggressive thing, and we saw this within the last couple of weeks. You saw what happened with Southwest Airlines through this particular holiday season, where they had a complete meltdown. Yep. And if you investigate that and read into what people from within Southwest are saying about what had happened to that company, Herb Kelleher had run that company the way a company should be run, in that he gave priority to customers and the frontline personnel of the company. and did everything he could to support those people and stayed in touch with them and went up to the front lines to see how things were going. And he was like that kind of a leader. And then he left, and the guy who took over as CEO was one of these Wall Street financial guys. And what he did was make the company over time more and more extractive of, just kind of like taking from customers without making sure the customers are okay. And also failing to spend the money that needed to be spent to keep the company current. So right now, the reason that Southwest is failing is because it has a management system that is like really, really old software that also depends a lot on manual efforts. And the complexity has just snowballed over the years of managing flights and managing passengers and managing luggage. And Southwest has just not been up to it. So it's kind of been creakier and creakier over the last couple of years, and then it finally just collapsed.
Yeah, they're the new poster child for current management theory, which is basically what you just described.
Extractive, yeah.
You get a really successful company, and then you mine it for all the wealth that you can pull out of it, and you don't put a lot back into it, especially with those pesky workers and frontline staff. We don't want to let them share in any of the wealth. That would just be un-American.
And the political version of that is trying to get yourself elected so that you can get power and money, and not with any intention of serving or governing.
Exactly. Or knowing how in that Santos situation. I mean, I don't trust him.
Well, I wonder why.
God, this guy. Oh, and now he's gay. That's my favorite new thing.
Wait a minute. Did I miss a headline?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
He kept it secret that he had been married to a woman the entire time he was running, and was running as a gay Republican. And then he divorced the woman like right before he announced. Didn't tell anybody.
Okay.
Just decided that he was gonna go for that vote too, because then you can say, oh, and I'm also progressive on this kind of. It's just, how do people not vet those people? How does this happen?
Well, in fact, the local newspaper did vet him and discovered some of these things about him that we're just now hearing, and made a big deal about it. And this is a newspaper, it's basically a Republican newspaper, and they have always supported the Republican candidate. And they endorsed the Democrat this year, and they said, we endorsed the Democrat reluctantly because this guy is so bad. Yet he still got elected.
Really? I know. Well, but he got elected because they killed the story. I mean, the New York Times came out with the story like 2 days after he was elected. That's when they broke it.
You know who else is recently divorced?
Who?
Marjorie Taylor Greene. Wouldn't they make a great couple?
Boy, I can see that being realistic, because imagine being in that relationship. I'd be looking for the door right away.
Oh my God. What a team. What a team they would be.
The king and queen of America.
Oh God.
She would be the king and he would be the queen.
I'm most just thinking about Sarah Palin. We thought that was batshit crazy. It's like, she's nothing. It's like, she was just a slacker.
We laughed at Dan Quayle for misspelling potato.
I miss Dan Quayle lately. Dan Quayle
saved the country.
Yeah, he's the one who told Mike Pence that, hey, you can't do this.
Thank you, Dan Quayle.
Yeah, I love Dan Quayle. Back in my concert production days, I did a show in Sacramento at the Civic Center, and we came in just after a Dan Quayle for president rally there with the Christian conservatives. They were packed in, and he was surrounded by all sorts of Secret Service. And we show up a bunch of people in black leather jackets and wearing rock and roll T-shirts and carrying in guitars and stuff to the event center. Walk right through, and the Secret Service did not question us. I looked like I was from Al Qaeda or something, the way I was dressed. They just looked at us like, it's Quayle. Screw it. They just
Who cares? Whatever.
through, and that's kind of his how he was looked at in the government. He's like, well, it's him.
It's
Just
like the LBJ.
pretend he's not there, and maybe he'll go away. And he did.
So we say we're going to talk about 2022. 2022 was like January of 2022. We were a year out from the supposed insurrection. And throughout this year, 2022, up to the point where we're almost 2 years from that moment of pain for the USA. And there are still people who are saying that Trump actually won, but far fewer of those people, most of them being Trump.
And Sean Hannity.
Does he still say that?
No, they just found out that he lied about, I mean, he's been lying on his show. All these Republicans are coming after him now.
Oh,
Wait,
no,
Hannity lying?
He wasn't telling the truth. Oh, I am devastated now. I
He
thought,
said, I never believed the election was stolen.
But what happened in 2022, what we saw happen was there was this big buildup throughout the year where it really felt like the new Republicans, the fascists basically, that they were really going to take power in a big way. And moving up to November, it felt, I mean, some of us were in despair about that, but damned if the people who opposed that, both Democrats and Republicans to some extent, damn if they didn't get out and vote in a reasonably sane way for people who were not crazy.
Yeah, but
not entirely, but
half.
Huh?
Just over half.
It was still close. It was still close,
Which is
but we
horrifying.
squeaked on by.
Well,
But that is really good news, because what should have happened, based on historical precedent, is that they really should have had their red tsunami.
yeah, the
and they
red wave
didn't.
broke on the shore with a little bit of a dribble and not a big, washing away of the blue.
And the real tsunami buster there was conscience and reality. I mean, people realized that how bad things were getting and how much worse they could get if they didn't back off from the crazy.
And who would have thought Mike Pence would come out as the hero in this whole play of just the strange way that thing turned out? Is like he was never a big liberal, icon. He was a big hardcore conservative, but
Right.
he even saw that this was really wrong, and that he ended up doing the right thing, which is pretty unusual for people of the new conservative Republican Party.
Or Liz Cheney. 2022
Another one.
made Liz Cheney a hero.
Yep. You just never know. Sometimes people will come through, but I'm not going to hold my breath waiting for them to become liberals or anything, because they're still hardcore conservatives.
I kind of think that they're, you guys are referring to them as the new Republicans. And I agree with you that they are a different breed, but I don't think they're Republicans. And unfortunately, I think they have they've taken that name, and the true conservatives are going to have to come up with another name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, they hijacked the party.
Yeah, well,
Exactly. So are they going to be, I guess they'll be Republicans. I don't know what the Republicans, the old Republicans are going to call themselves. I just don't.
Well, kind of an interesting thing. So there, a lot of them are calling themselves independents right now, but I heard just the other day, it's increasingly unlikely that the Republican nominee for president will be Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
But Trump is seriously considering running either as an independent or a third party kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
well, the only
And
reason
it,
he's pushing that is he makes a lot of money, whether he wins the office or not, because of the way he
exactly.
has his finances set up for his campaigns.
He will destroy the Republican Party if he does that.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I mean
More
that
power to
really will
him.
trash any chance either the Republicans or Trump would have of winning, but it allows Trump to keep running his grift.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
if you look at history, it's been done before what has been done to the Republican Party.
Mm-hmm.
Adolf Hitler was not a member of that, German Democratic Party until he got the power and he got the brown shirts with him, and they just kind of stormed in and they became the party, whether you like it or
Mm-hmm.
not. If you didn't like it, then you disappeared.
Yep. Yep. They're just, I really
It's
feel
not a
like,
new thing, and these are the same kind of people that that are trying this with the Republican Party. Fascism was really popular back in the 1930s in this country. They had big rallies, and a lot of important people were involved in that. And of course, when the war broke out, they all disappeared because they were afraid they'd get lynched.
well, they got awfully close to fascism again, with McCarthy.
Hmm.
It's
Well, I
something
mean, this country's been flirting with fascism forever.
Yeah, they always
yeah.
use the Red Scare. That was always a big, money maker for those folks. Just blame the commies, and they're coming over, and they're going to all make us eat borscht. So
But
it's
now they've
over.
gone straight up 1984 on us, and they have flipped who our enemy is. It's like, wait a minute. I thought we didn't like these guys. Now you're telling us that we are supposed to like these guys. I mean, that was Trump's agenda with
Well,
Russia.
the bad people now are the woke people, the ones who believe in social justice and equality.
Yeah, there's a couple of YouTube videos I see floating around, and one of them it says the empire was right. Um, I see this guy, and all he's got is he's a podcaster, and all he's got behind him is paraphernalia from Star Wars, but it's all from the dark side. There's no Luke, no Leia, nothing. It's like, dude,
There are certain people that really got off to seeing all those stormtroopers. The stormtroopers, that's sexy. I want to be a stormtrooper.
I can tell you what happened to me in 2022 that really stands out in my head is that I started to really understand what these people are saying. It's sort of like went through a period like all of us of feeling outraged, and it's like, how can somebody say that? How can they believe that way? But I really started to get a handle on what they believe and how strongly they believe it. What I'm referring to, the belief I'm referring to, is that the United States was created for one set of people, and all the other people shouldn't even be here.
Hmm?
And of course, the people who say that see themselves as part of the bunch that the United States was created for. So, all those indigenous people, you should send them back home where they came from. Wait.
Yeah,
No, but everybody, I mean, what's happening now at the borders, they interpret as meaning that sinister people are trying to bring in people of color to take the place of white people and eventually replace all the white people with people of color. And actually, that's kind of happening in that there's more and more people of color in the United States. but it's not a
That's why we were
conspiracy.
called a melting pot. We put
It's
it
not a
right
bad
out
thing.
there.
Yeah, I mean, this country was supposed to be that way. You look on that inscription on the Statue of
Yeah.
Liberty, and you know, these people say that basically they're saying if you're not worshiping the blue-eyed, blonde-haired Jesus, and you're not
Heterosexual
kind of looking
Jesus.
like that blue-eyed, blonde-haired Jesus, and you're married to a woman or a woman to a man, and anything else is evil. I mean, these people
Yeah, I mean the
come up with a whole
sexuality
new.
thing's a big deal too.
It's
Yeah, and
scary.
it's ridiculous. Yeah, that whole thing. Jesus was really a Palestinian, and so a lot of the Christians who are so pro-Israel don't seem to understand that, or I mean, they just don't seem to get it. He was he was a refugee.
And Netanyahu is back in power
Oh
there.
my
So
God, right?
deja vu all over again. It's okay, great. The guy was a criminal, still is, got
Still is.
convicted,
Went to jail.
and he's back for another tour.
I mean, that's like putting what's his name? Oh, who's the guy, the Italy guy? Uh, damn, no, I can't remember his name. He's the one who got thrown in jail for a little while and then his wife ran or something.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
You know
guy
who
will
that
never be
is?
elected.
This
I
picture.
don't
Yeah,
know.
This is what they believe the historical Jesus actually looked like.
yeah, that looks accurate because if you have ever
Sure.
been in that part of the world, that's how the people look.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. Where'd you find that?
I just Googled it. I've seen that image several times before. I just went back looking for it.
Yeah, well, there's some people that do facial reconstruction, based on just their studies of how faces develop, and they did a great one of this woman in Paris, I think, specializes in that, and she reconstructed a skull that was supposed to be of Nefertiti, the queen of
Oh, wow.
Egypt, and the work was just amazing, and it looked came out looking just like the classical drawings of Nefertiti. So there's people who can
Wow.
do that kind of reconstruction work that's accurate. They've studied how
Yeah.
the human body works.
Yeah. And I
We
guess
should talk. Well, go ahead.
ahead. I was just gonna say, I guess there's enough description in the Bible or in the Apocrypha, maybe, if you get all of those also the the books they threw out because they didn't think, that a book of Judith was necessary or a book of Mary was necessary. So
Yeah, we
but
don't want any women's books there.
but that may be that's where they, got the description and stuff.
Mary Magdalene doesn't get a lot of good press in the
Never has, never did.
evangelicals.
No, no. Jesus really hung out with a lot of trashy people.
Yeah, look, most credible people generally have that kind of a history. It's not,
They're all homeless and shit. What's the deal?
Yeah. Yeah, he drove the moneylenders from the temple.
Oh,
oh
yeah.
boy,
That's what his opinion of capitalism was.
that'll get you put up before the House Un-American Activities Committee.
Right
That's a
on.
fact.
Getting rid of the bankers? No, no, no. Who's going to fund our political campaigns?
Jesus would not have an account with Wells Fargo
Or PayPal. Just
or
saying.
PayPal for that matter.
He does not like Elon Musk. I
And
know
he-
you say
he-
he likes everyone, but he does not like Elon Musk.
He wouldn't be driving a Tesla.
Oh,
And,
no.
speaking of that, their stock has dropped by half since his great adventures in social media started.
Well, there's a,
Happen to be a nicer guy.
there's been an inevitable downward trajectory for Tesla that's kind of been in the cards, and where that comes from is like when Tesla first appeared, it was the only electric car, really. I mean, there might have been some other smaller deals, but it was the only electric car, and it was kind of to the extent there were other electric cars, it was much better. And, they did a lot of work to make it as much like a real car as possible. And they were selling a lot of Teslas to people who thought there was a cool factor involved. It was kind of expensive, kind of pricey, but they did have lower price versions eventually, and they were selling a lot of cars. But inevitably, other car companies were going to start building electric cars and bringing those to market. So the Tesla was inevitably going to be affected by that. And part of the reason that its stock is, well, I guess you could say it's tanking. I mean, to a great extent, Elon Musk is like creating a reputation for himself that rubs off on his company a bit. So that is having an effect. But there's also the fact that people understand now that Tesla is inherently going to have an impact on its sales by all these other electric cars that are coming out. Many of which are very good,
Yeah, plus Tesla is under investigation by the the National Transportation Safety Board because of all these, hands-free driver accidents that have been happening. Some really bad ones where, a Tesla steers into a roadside, repair crew, and
did that happen?
That happened.
Was anyone killed?
I can't remember there were some serious injuries and possibly deaths. I would have to look back. It's been a while since I read all the different details, but they've detailed a lot of, accidents. People, rear-ending a car in front of them because they're
I don't want to
a
get
magical device didn't see a car.
right. Oh, okay. I don't want to get too off topic here, but what is Neuralink? Because this also plays into his Game of Thrones. Neuralink is some kind of, I'm guessing it's a chip you put in your head. This is the only thing I can conceive of. There's
yes, implantable brain-computer interfaces.
Mm-hmm.
So can you tell me why would one do that?
Well, if people keep talking about you as though you're some genius who is creating the future, and you've been hearing or reading a lot of science fiction, some of it like the cyberpunk stuff with all the neural implants that they would talk about, you start thinking, well, I should pioneer that. Let's build that, I don't know how well it's doing. The thing about Elon Musk is maybe he's not really much of a genius. Maybe he's just been lucky. And certainly he's had the good fortune to have good people running companies that he's been associated with. And, people like to talk about him as though he's some kind of genius, like a kind of weird genius, mad genius. But I think that he's just, and this is true of, I think, a lot of the tech bros in big tech. A lot of those guys have stumbled into things where they accidentally became very wealthy. And if you have people telling you that because you're wealthy, that this means that you're some kind of a genius, or that you've done, like, you're somehow better than everybody else, then you start to believe it. And Musk has been hit with that a lot. So he started to believe his own bullshit, and he's following that along. And one thing is Neuralink is like, they're trying to create these neural implants, which, I mean, it may turn out to be a great thing. They may do some really wonderful things, but I'm a little skeptical.
Well, there are some implants like that actually help people with a neurological condition that can be helped by having a little bit of stimulation to a particular part of the brain. That's been done for a while, But I don't think that's what he has in mind. He has in mind more of the cyberpunk thing you were mentioning. But his companies seem to do okay as long as he shuts the fuck up. But when he starts going public and brandishing his manliness, to the public in behalf of the companies, that's when he starts to do a lot of damage to those very companies.
Well, that's like John said. I mean, that's such an ego thing, because he's stumbled into this money and people think he's a genius, and it's a lot like Trump to me, you know.
Hmm.
He didn't necessarily stumble into money. Somebody threw it at him,
Yeah.
but he's I mean, the thing that I knew with all my heart this whole time that this Trump thing has been going on, when he said he wouldn't release his taxes, wasn't that he had cheated on him. Everybody knew he had cheated on him. It was that he didn't have any money. And
Yeah, exactly.
that is the case. And I was like, there it is, because I had so many arguments with Trumpers about what a good businessman he was. And I was like, what do you really think that aren't his taxes out?
Speaking of good businessmen,
Yeah, there you go. Where businessman equals grifter.
and I
He
think
said they were cute.
there's a lot more, you know, to that story that hasn't come out. Is there's a lot of missing money, and no one seems to be telling where it went. So then, that's got to be the big part, because $8 billion doesn't just evaporate and go up into the stratosphere.
How do you run out of NFTs? Just by the way,
You do it because you limit the number of NFTs. I mean, you have to enforce scarcity,
I guess
right?
so.
But you can enforce that yourself. You can say there's only going to be so many. It's like
now.
Okay, well, think about this. I often compare NFTs to artist prints.
Yeah.
So an artist gets a bunch of prints made that are high fidelity prints, really good prints, maybe a nice frame. They sign the prints separately and number them, right? And they may make 40 of them. And that's all that they make. They could make more, but they only make 40. And part of that is they definitely want to enforce scarcity because it will justify the higher price.
Right.
And NFTs are kind of like that, in that, if you have a signed print that's numbered, you're the only one who has that particular print with that number on it, and it's signed by the artist. And an NFT is kind of like that. It kind of shows you that the digital object that you have, you're the only one who has it. It can be replicated endlessly, but there's only one copy of it that has that piece of code attached to it. So that makes it unique. And let's say you're Trump and you want to make your Trump cards, like this thing he did recently.
Yeah.
They talked about how, we're sold out.
Right.
Well, of course, you can replicate those things endlessly, and you can create little pieces of code endlessly. But if you do that, they're not valuable.
Right. Well,
so there you are.
One wonders,
and we all know how valuable they are.
Well, and I mean, they're valuable only to people who think they have value.
But I think we all know people who were really swept up in the whole cryptocurrency thing of imaginary money, and
there's nothing behind
they
it.
They used to get really irate when people criticize the Bitcoin situation going up and down and becoming worthless, and then becoming worth something, and then no, it's worthless again.
Right.
Scoop, remember, we stumbled over NFTs before anybody was calling them NFTs, and that was when we interviewed Vinay Gupta.
That's right.
And he was talking about, like putting Stradivarius violins on the blockchain.
Yeah, that was an interesting interview. We'll have to recycle that sometime.
Yeah,
Okay.
Benet's a smart guy, and he's usually ahead of the curve on things like this, and he was ahead of the curve on that one. He is one of the uh,
Hmm.
initial instigators of the idea of associating blockchain or digital, now they're calling them NFTs, non-fungible tokens, with uh, objects in the real world.
Yeah, and that's more like blockchain isn't the evil, it's just a tool. You know, some of the things being done with blockchains are kind of sketchy, but some of the things he was describing, it's for real. And you can really have a good record of things that can't be taken away, can't be changed without, everybody agreeing on the change.
It's kind of a sad thing, that we had these people who had a really good idea to build a digital, and instead of a currency, they built a speculative investment. That's not what they intended to do. They weren't, Bitcoin was not supposed to be an investment. It was supposed to be a currency. But people don't use it as a currency, partly because the value of it is so volatile.
It
What do
was
they
I
do
mean,
with
they
it?
do,
for
they
a
do, but
lot
not
of
that
drug
much.
deals, for one thing.
What do they do with it
Yeah,
if they don't use it for currency?
they buy it and hold it, and it just gets more and more valuable. And you sit there waiting for
Less
the
and less,
value to increase,
or less and less
Well,
and
valuable.
then
I'm so confused at how it would get valuable if there's nothing behind it.
uh,
exactly.
buzz creates
That's a
value
good
in it.
question. Well, it gets valuable because there's only so much of it, and people are trading it
Look,
as though, I mean, it's like they're trading stocks.
it's the new pet
It
rock.
becomes an investment. Yeah.
It's just a
I
pet
mean,
rock.
currencies become more or less valuable. The dollar is up and down, and so are other forms of currency,
Yeah, but it
and they get
actually
measured against
has.
each other and so forth. But it's used more as currency. But with Bitcoin, people were buying it and holding it and waiting for it to appreciate.
Yeah, and the big
But there was
problem.
nothing ever in it to appreciate. It's like, I mean, the dollar, although it may be, like everything else, any other payment would be that has actual funds behind it. We have gold I mean, we've got money, that we've got things that make that dollar what it is. If you took a dollar and said, here, this is what you can get for this, and you got a Bitcoin, you could not get anything for that. No one is going to take that. Here's this
Yeah.
pretend money I'm going to give you. It's not, how do you appreciate? It's like, how does your bread dough rise when it's an empty pan? It's just, there's nothing there.
Yeah, the whole
That's what I
thing
don't
with
get.
well, when Bitcoin has been used to pay for certain things, there are some companies that have started accepting payment in Bitcoin. I think in the hopes that they could get it on the rise, not on the fall of the value of
Yeah.
the Bitcoin. But it's it's very
I want to make up some money and
its
start paying
value
my electric bill
determines
with it.
on how much buzz it has. If all the cool people are saying, "Oh, I'm getting Bitcoin," then of course it's going to increase in value because it's popular. It's got the buzz factor going on.
Again, but
Any
what
scarce
is the
thing,
value?
well, any scarce thing that is in demand will increase in value, right?
As, but how, okay, so what is a Bitcoin to a dollar right now?
Oh, I don't know. I can look that up.
Yeah, that would be on the market reports. Yeah, it's
So, but not everybody has to take
One
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin right now is 16,533.7 United States dollars.
yeah, and not long ago it was up to what almost 70,000. That
So so
Yeah.
where would I go to buy something with that? The grocery store?
Probably not.
Uh, if they accepted Bitcoin. I mean, you'd have to go somewhere that accepted Bitcoin, and you'd have to have a wallet set up that you could where you could transfer from your wallet to their wallet.
And then how would I get change in cash?
It's
Well,
all
I mean,
done
you
on the
wouldn't have to get
blockchain.
change because it would be just the exact amount.
Yeah, exact change only.
Man,
I mean, they would just
that's
take whatever percentage of your Bitcoin it took to pay for whatever it is
you
that you
know
were
what?
buying.
I shouldn't laugh at it because when a certain person, when I worked at Whole Foods .com, when it was still Whole Foods.com, we were trying to sell food and stuff. Someone came
Right.
up and, but then we moved on. Um, they this person who was we all thought he was crazy. He was talking about books online.
Mhm.
Everybody thought he was nuts. It's like,
Are you
what do you
talking about me?
no.
Because I was ordering books from Amazon
No.
back then.
This was yes, no, but virtually. He was talking about having them virtually, and it wasn't
Oh yeah.
you, but I don't know that you laughed at him, but the rest of us did. And now that's the only way I get my books.
That's the only way you can,
Oh yeah.
because Malvern Books just went under. That
Really?
Yes, and that was sad because that was a cool little bookstore. We did an event with uh, Chris Brown and I forget the other guy's name. We recorded a reading there.
Seems like it was Scott. What was his name? Um, let me see if I can figure that out. Yeah, we did an event there that was it was a science fiction author.
Yeah.
And the event was pretty cool.
Yeah,
Nice.
and after the event, I went and I was looking at all the things they had in their shelves, and it's stuff you wouldn't find, maybe even at Book People. I mean, they had a niche market of just really cool, really avant-garde stuff. In fact, it was really a nice bookstore, and they treated people nice when you came in there. If I went in there, they would be personable and they would want to show you something they're really proud of. And they'd show you the really cool books that are out. You don't get that in a lot of retailers.
Oh no.
But
Half price books is all
priced out,
right.
priced out of Austin, like a lot of other good businesses.
I heard the Broken Spoke is asking the city council or somebody to help guard them against going under.
Yeah, because the
Oh, it was Michael
people,
Bloomline.
that
We
was,
interviewed we recorded a talk by Michael Bloomline, who has died since then.
yeah.
Incidentally.
Oh God, sorry.
But
Yeah, it was very
yeah,
sad.
the whole broken spoke thing. The company that built that big condo apartment thing around the broken spoke, they were all fans, so they were saying, you're cool here. You can just stay just like you are. Well, they've been purchased by another company who doesn't give a shit. So the broken spoke people are concerned that they're going to be bulldozed like most of the other
It literally
businesses.
makes no sense to bulldoze over and remake a city that you want to move to because you think it's cool. So you raise the whole fucking thing and then you build Boulder on top of it or
Yeah,
something.
and we're going to end up like Houston did back in the 80s.
Oh.
They built all those great high rises, and nobody was inside. You could look through all the buildings when you drove through Houston.
I mean, yeah, it's true. And they're still building.
Yep.
I don't know.
Well, they're talking about making the Broken Spoke a historic landmark,
Yeah.
Well, it
and
actually
that may
is.
protect it, I think.
It's on the list of historical landmarks, but they have to really take a big vote and have the city council step up and do something for a change.
Well, they did. They approved a resolution initiating the historic zoning for the dance hall
That's
An
good.
issue. Yeah, that's
in order
very
to
good.
provide permanent protection to the structure and the operations of the venue.
Good. I wish
So
they'd
there
done
you
that for
are.
Maria's.
Yeah, there are a lot of
Yeah.
places that were the reason I moved back here from the Bay Area, because the Bay Area was definitely not cool anymore.
Las Manitas.
Las Manitas. Oh my
all the way back to the
God.
Armadillo World headquarters.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, well, there's the Java. What's it was called? Java on 12th and Lamar.
Austin Java?
Yeah, Austin Java is
Is that
gone.
that's still not still there?
The building's still there, but they closed a long, over 10 years ago,
Because
I
I
would
think they're
say.
still in Austin Java.
One thing
Well, Austin has completely transformed in the last 2 decades, and it's not the same city it was. And there's a big question about, I mean, how should people feel about that? Does the city kind of lose its magic when it goes through a transformation like that? It kind of feels like it has. I used to think that regardless of what happened here, the magic was the magic and it was going to be there. But
you
I don't
bulldoze
know.
the magic
Cities
goes
have
away.
souls, and this particular soul has died, and it is now being reincarnated into something that I do not want to be associated with, really.
Well, one of the things I really miss from when I would always come to Austin, Inner Sanctum Records, businesses like that. That was a great place to go. No Inner
Yeah.
Fortunately, Anton's is still around, and I hope they don't bulldoze that because
Yeah, I'm
those
concerned
are all
about
good people.
Waterloo Records. I'm
Yeah.
surprised they're still around, honestly.
Well, actually, they sell a lot more than just records now.
Right,
Yeah.
but
And they do really well with vinyl. In fact, John Coons, I kind of know John Coons who owns Waterloo, and he was telling me a couple of years ago that vinyl is sort of the main thing that they sell now.
Yeah, well,
That's their main source of
Well,
revenue.
why would you buy a CD anymore? Vinyl is, I mean, that's, you buy that for more than just hearing it, it's the whole experience of having an album.
something you could hold in your hand and
Yes, and
read
read
the
the
notes on the
liner
back. There
notes.
was artwork on the front.
Yes,
But
that's something. But now you just
vinyl is outselling most other forms of music, and
good.
it's
I
not
hope the
because
artists are getting
of the
money.
audio quality, because audio purists think vinyl's kind of lacking, but I'm a vinyl purist, and
I think
I
vinyl sounds
I
the
like the
best.
feel of the music and the dynamics of the music, and the remixes that you hear these days are not the original music. It's somebody's reimagining of, if they had produced the Beatles, that's what it would have sounded like.
Right, right.
That's not that record. And
Yeah.
there's too many people that want to take something that exists that was really good and make it their own version of really good, and that irritates me a lot.
It's very irritating. I remember when I heard the Vanilla Ice song, I was very upset by it.
There's a lot of things like that. People are just best. It's like, do an original song, idiot. Come on, that's what most people do.
Try. Yeah. I
Don't
mean,
be,
I could write new words to, the best songs in the world, and I could say it was mine. But
well,
I mean, I could go Weird Al Yankovic. That's no problem.
I could do an all kazoo version of Purple Rain, but I wouldn't be Prince. It wouldn't be
Hey, I
worth
bet
listening.
I might be able to back you up on my ukulele.
Well, if you attached an NFT to that, you might make some money.
Oh boy, here we go.
We're only accepting Bitcoin.
Call our attorneys. I think we have a business plan that's hatching.
Wow. Well, I thought we would cover a lot more stuff, but this is a lot that we have covered.
Yeah, well, this is kind of how we roll anyway. We take a subject and try to stick to the subject, but generally don't.
I'm trying to see if there's anything we didn't talk about. Well, I mean, there's a lot, and I had some notes, and there are a lot of things that I had down, but we didn't talk about gun violence. We didn't talk about the war in the Ukraine.
Well, I guess we're going to have to continue doing these live things.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about
those things.
Hunter Biden's laptop.
Oh boy.
Oh, that guy.
Let's run that into the ground.
Let's fight back with Justice Kennedy's son. All right. Let's have a little bit of that going on if we're going to talk about Hunter.
I wonder if we
Yeah.
could get Hunter Biden to come on the show. That would be pretty good.
Yeah, he's got nothing else going on.
No, he's not busy at all.
And we did not talk about the terrible thing that happened in Uvalde in 2022.
Yeah, I've avoided talking about that just because it's still horrifying just to even think about.
It makes me so angry. And you know what? Just on top of that, it is just I can't even believe that county voted for Greg Abbott in such large numbers. It's just heartbreaking.
That's kind of
Well,
hard to parse.
That's indicative of the problem there. The people that are actually running the town are not the parents of those kids. They're old white guys.
Yeah.
Probably. Well, we're almost out of time. The one thing I wanted to mention that I just found out about today is that Ron DeSantis, our old friend Ron DeSantis, has called for Moderna and Pfizer to be investigated for their COVID vaccine.
Oh, fucking A, this guy.
I'm having a little trouble understanding exactly what are they supposed to investigate. I mean, they saved 3 million lives, at least, maybe more.
This is just posturing and testing the waters to see how Trump, he has to go. How does he have to go full Trump to win? Does he go just a little bit Trump? He's always been anti-vax. So, that could be a big swing for him from the Trump voters who are still loving Trump, but also going, well, maybe he's too old.
Well, I think we need a new superhero, and I've got one in mind.
All right.
New superhero.
Yeah.
I'm Batman.
Fat man.
I love that guy.
Talk about your body shaming. There's your guy there.
Yeah. You know what, though? I wouldn't fuck with that dude. I wouldn't.
Anyway.
So we have reached the end of the internet, as they say.
Oh, wow.
Or we have reached the end of our time anyway. But this was fun. We will do this more often.
Yes.
Well,
and we'll be back full force pretty soon. I will be a little out of pocket in a couple of weeks after they slice into my body, break out my hip, and put some titanium steel in there.
Yeah, Miss Suzy and I'll pick up the slack for you there. And,
yes.
Provide you comfort and aid.
Yes, we're there for you. We are there for you. Listen, wear masks, you guys, because 3 of my friends are very sick right now, and they've tested positive for COVID.
Oh, that's terrible.
One of them had to have breathing treatments at the hospital, so please be careful.
Yeah, we keep going.
Won't keep you from that, because my granddaughter, who just moved back to Texas, she's a nursing aide, and she tested positive twice, and she was fully vaccinated. She still got COVID.
My friends
fully
are fully
vaccinated.
Vaxxed.
You mean 5 shots?
Yeah, the whole 9 yards, and still.
Wow. So it's probably the new subvariants.
It's just like, I think just leaving. I had a friend who worked for the CDC, and she said, I'm not ever going to, not wear a mask in public again. She's like, it's just too dangerous.
Well, we've been running around without masks on for several months now, and we've been in lots of crowded spaces, and somehow we still haven't gotten sick.
So, yeah.
Here it comes.
Oh,
Be careful.
Right.
Be safe.
Okay, folks. Wear your mask.
Right. Well,
wear a condom. Wear something on top of your head for sun protection.
But not a condom. Don't put the condom on your head.
Unless...
I need one up here. It's shiny. Sorry, Suzy. Too much information.
Oh, fellas.
Let's say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Yes. Adios. See you soon.
Hasta Luigi. You can follow the Plutopia News Network at plutopia.io. On Facebook, go to @Plutopia News. On Twitter, it's @Plutopia. This is the Plutopia News Network, 20 minutes into the future.